Welcome to this explainer. Look, we're jumping right in today because we need to talk about the financial and surveillance traps hiding in plain sight inside the modern automotive industry. You might think buying a brand new car is this huge upgrade, right? Like a major step into the future of convenience and safety. But actually, a growing movement of mechanics, privacy experts, and just generally smart drivers are seriously sounding the alarm. They're arguing that the newest vehicles on the road aren't really just transportation anymore. They are carefully engineered traps. By the end of this explainer, you're going to understand exactly why the smartest drivers out there are actively hunting down 25-year-old cars and, well, why you might want to join them. So what if the car in your driveway is actively plotting against you? Okay, let's dive into this kind of jarring reality. If you bought a car after 2018, you likely didn't just buy a vehicle. According to industry experts, you basically bought a rapidly depreciating 4,000-pound data terminal on wheels. And yeah, it is actively working against you. If you strip away all that clever marketing, the glowing touchscreens, and the fancy ambient interior lighting, what you're left with is a machine that's constantly monitoring your behavior. I mean, almost every modern car rolling off the assembly line today comes standard with a built-in cellular modem. It's not an option. You literally can't turn it off. And it never, ever sleeps. It's logging how hard you brake, how fast you accelerate, how sharply you corner, and exactly where you go every single hour of the day. Now, you might be wondering, just how bad is it really? Well, the Mozilla Foundation recently did this massive review of 25 major car brands, and their conclusion was pretty blunt. Modern cars are a privacy nightmare. In fact, they called them the official worst category of products for privacy they have ever reviewed. What they found was just staggering. Every single one of those 25 brands collects way more intimate personal data than they actually need just to operate the vehicle. Think about that. It's officially worse than mental health apps, worse than smart home devices. And to make matters worse, the researchers couldn't even confirm whether any of the automakers met their minimum security standards to properly encrypt all that personal information just sitting there on the car. Get this, 84%. Out of the major brands reviewed, a whopping 84% openly state that they can share or sell your personal data to service providers, data brokers, and other businesses. And the scope of this data collection? It's honestly beyond creepy. We're talking about harvesting everything from your driving speed and location to your medical information, your genetic data, and I am perfectly serious here, even your sex life. No way, right? This massive stream of data comes from how you interact with the car, the connected services you use, the vehicle's mobile app, and even third-party sources like your satellite radio or navigation system. This all feeds into what investigators are calling the telematics spy grid. Automakers are using those always-on factory cellular modems to log your every move. But where does all that data actually go? Well, it gets funneled through data brokers like LexisNexis Risk Solutions, where your behavioral data is neatly packaged and sold directly to insurance companies. Drivers all over the country have reported watching their insurance premiums jump by hundreds of dollars literally overnight. And it's not because they got a speeding ticket or caused an accident. Nope. Their rates doubled because their own car's computer basically filed a behavioral report on them. You paid tens of thousands of dollars for the machine, but to them, you're the product. But wait, it gets better. Actually, scratch that. It gets way worse. They aren't just harvesting your data, they're holding your hardware hostage. Automakers are essentially stitching the pockets of your own coat shut and charging you to use them. For example, BMW made huge headlines by physically installing heated seats in their cars, but then requiring a monthly subscription fee to actually turn them on. Crazy, right? Mercedes-Benz introduced a $1,200 a year subscription just to unlock faster acceleration. Acceleration that the electric engine is already completely capable of. Volkswagen and Audi have locked adaptive cruise control, which relies on equipment that is totally built right into the car's radar systems, behind a paywall. You are literally being forced to pay a digital ransom for parts you already physically bought and are carting around every single day. And this corporate trap extends right to the dashboard in front of you. It's this whole debate of analog durability versus digital poison. Stripping away those tactile copper-wired switches for a giant tablet glued to the dash isn't some luxury upgrade. Honestly, it's a cost-cutting illusion. Let's look at a 2002 Silverado. A broken blower motor switch is a $30 part you can fix in your driveway on a Sunday afternoon, and the tactile knobs mean your eyes never have to leave the road. But in a modern vehicle, eliminating those physical buttons means you have to menu dive just to turn on the defrost while you're doing 70 miles per hour on the highway. And when that touchscreen inevitably fails or delaminates in the summer sun, you can't just run to AutoZone. It requires a proprietary dealer software flash and an entire module replacement. So that $30 fix, it mutates into a $3,000 to $4,000 financial time bomb. A simple digital glitch basically mechanically totals your car. So, how did we get forced into this digital corner? To understand that, we have to look back at the deliberate execution of the analog car, specifically what's known as the liquid glass execution. Back in the summer of 2009, the federal government rolled out the Cash for Clunkers program. Now, it offered credits toward new, fuel-efficient vehicles, sure, but the catch was absolutely devastating. Dealerships were legally mandated to literally execute the engines of the trade-ins. They drained the engine oil, replaced it with sodium silicate, which is also known as liquid glass, and just ran the engines until the internals crystallized, seized up, and completely destroyed themselves. Over 670,000 perfectly running, working vehicles were deliberately killed this way, wiping out a massive chunk of the affordable, reliable used car market in one fell swoop. This timeline maps out what a lot of mechanics call the calculated eradication of the analog car. So 2009 saw the destruction of those forever engines, indestructible power plants like the Jeep 4.0-liter inline-six or the GM 3800 V6 that could easily push 300,000 miles. Then, right around 2012, factory cellular modems started becoming standard, quietly laying the groundwork for that spy grid we talked about. By 2018, touchscreens had largely replaced physical dashboards, which locked owners out of independent repairs and pushed them straight back to the dealer. And under the hood, those reliable old engines were swapped out for fragile, highly stressed three-cylinder turbos and continuously variable transmissions that really seemed designed to survive the EPA test cycle and the warranty period, and, well, not much longer. But the absolute final nail in the analog coffin isn't a touchscreen or a weak transmission. It's a federal mandate arriving in 2026. Let's talk about the 2026 kill switch mandate. Buried deep inside a recent federal infrastructure bill is a new requirement for all new passenger vehicles to feature what legislators are calling advanced impaired driving technology. Here's how the mechanism works. It's a computer system using interior cameras and sensors that holds the ultimate authority to decide whether you are fit to drive. Think about the implications here. If the algorithm decides you shouldn't be driving, maybe a camera just fogs up in the winter, who knows? It can completely disable your vehicle. There is no human in the loop. There is zero appeals process. In a few short years, you might no longer actually own a car. You'll just own a permission slip to travel, which can be revoked instantly by an algorithm. But, and here's the good news, mechanics and smart buyers have found an escape hatch. They're calling it the pre-screen loophole, covering roughly the years 1996 to 2008. According to classic car experts, demographics are really shifting, and this specific era of automotive history is suddenly becoming super sought after. See, 1996 is the year OBD2 diagnostics were federally mandated. That means these cars have modern electronic fuel injection, they start up instantly in the dead of winter, and you can read their sensors with a cheap $20 scanner. Plus, they've got modern crash structures and airbags. But because they completely predate the massive connectivity revolution, they contain absolutely zero digital poison. They truly represent the ultimate analog sweet spot. Right now, highly informed buyers are actively hunting down what's known as the ghost fleet. We're talking about a rebellion of vehicles with zero cellular modems, absolutely no data brokers, tactile physical knobs, and real, actual physical transmission gears. And the best part? They cost next to nothing to maintain with $5 junkyard replacement parts. The undisputed king of this loophole is the Ford Panther platform. Think cars like the Crown Victoria and Grand Marquis, built with heavy-duty frames for taxi and police fleets. Or the legendary Jeep 4.0-liter, or even those 90s and early 2000s Toyota Camrys and Honda Accords. When you hand over cash for one of these, you completely sever that spy grid. Real gears, tactile knobs, and zero algorithms. Nobody is monitoring your braking, and no black box algorithm has authority over your ignition. So here's the bottom line. A $5,000 analog cash car with zero data harvesting and dirt cheap parts beats a digital trap on a massive 7-year loan every single time. Look, the industry has spent decades trying to convince us that newer is always better. But you have to ask yourself, are you buying a vehicle to actually own? Or are you just financing an $80,000 surveillance device? Next time you walk outside, take a long, hard look at what's sitting in your driveway right now.